Life is so much more than a diagnosis. It's about sharing time with those you love, hanging with friends who lift you up, and experiencing all those moments that bring you joy. All hits, no skips. Learn more about Kisqali Ribociclib 200 milligrams at KISQALI.com and talk to your doctor to see if Kisqali is right for you. So long live singing to the oldies, jamming out to something new, and everything in between.
A shocking crime has left the close-knit community of Yonkers, New York, reeling. Was it a tragic accident or a deliberate act? The tangled web has left family, friends, and the entire town in the state of disbelief and anger. What happened to 37-year-old Glennis Pinto? What happens when love becomes fatal? This is the Fatal Attraction Podcast with A Rival's Revenge.
She was a hard-working single mom who'd found happiness with a new man.
She has found the love of her life.
They was about to get married. She was trying to have another baby.
Until it all came to a screeching halt.
We received a phone call saying that there was a hit and run. A female was struck by a vehicle.
He just told me the mom didn't make it. I cried for about a month straight, every single day.
But was the fatal hit and run a tragic accident? Or had romance taken a wrong turn?
What do you mean? What am I talking about?
There are rumors on the street.
You made a foolish mistake.
This girl was a stone troublemaker.
She was this jealous woman type.
She may have been almost lured to the area.
She had no idea what she was walking into.
I don't think anyone anticipated murder.
Okay, I'm here right now.
Oh my God!
April 18th, 2015. It's Saturday afternoon in Yonkers, New York, what's long been known as New York City's 6th borough.
It's actually hard to tell, the difference between Yonkers and the Bronx.
It has a reputation for being gritty. It's on the upswing because there's a lot of gentrification going on. But Yonkers still has its pockets of rough neighborhoods.
Yonkers is just like any other borough. It's the city life. It's pretty fast-paced.
But sometimes life in the big city can move a little too fast. At 5:30 that evening, first responders raced to the scene of a hit and run.
A female was struck by a vehicle, and that vehicle subsequently had fled the scene.
Warburton Avenue, where the incident took place, is a combination of residential, commercial, and business. So you have a lot of people walking across the street at all hours of the day.
Vehicle accidents involving pedestrians being struck, it's pretty common.
When they arrive at the scene, they find the victim lying unconscious in the middle of the road.
You can see she's severely hurt.
This woman is in very bad shape.
Obviously, medical aid is a priority.
While EMTs render first aid, several shaken witnesses are escorted away from the scene.
The victim was with her friend at the time of the incident who called 911 as soon as the hit run took place.
She actually saw her get run over by the car.
She's in a panic mode.
The friend didn't have a lot of helpful details about the car that hit the victim.
But she does provide police with one important piece of information: the victim's name.
They immediately identified the victim as Glennis Pinto.
37-year-old Glennis Pinto had always lived life to the fullest.
She was an outgoing person. She loved to party with her friends.
She loved to laugh, loved to joke, have her friends around.
She was always eager to make people happy and sort of be the life of the party.
She loved to see everybody smile.
Although while she was eager to please, she never wavered in her convictions.
My mom is very straightforward. She's head on, straight to the point. She was like a real call it as you see it person.
She sets her mind on whatever it is to get done.
Whatever she makes up her mind to do, she'll do it.
Glynis's focus and determination served her well when she became pregnant with her son, Nasir.
She was 19, pregnant with him. She was kind of scared at first.
My father was incarcerated at the time, and then they called it quits.
She really took to the job of motherhood in a very serious and affectionate way. She adored her son.
That was her best friend. Well, I'm talking about two peas in a pot. They're very close.
She liked to make me more happy than anything else. As long as I had a smile on my face, she didn't care about anything.
But she also made sure her son was prepared for the future.
She's growing a young man, and she made sure that he'd be able to not only just grow, but to take care of himself.
She was very strict with me growing up.
She stayed on him on a constant basis.
My mother taught me how to do everything.
Being a single mom wasn't always easy, but Glynis made it look effortless.
If anything was wrong, I didn't notice it because my mom kept her composure and she always made sure everything was right. I never wanted for anything growing up.
She did what she had to do every time because it was just her and her son. She didn't let nothing get in her way.
To provide for her son, Glynis held a series of healthcare jobs.
When I was younger, my mom worked in Westchester Medical Center.
She did the housekeeping, but from housekeeping, she started going into the emergency room and stuff like that, and she started to work there.
She was cleaning like all the operation gear and stuff.
Later, Glynis took a job in the home healthcare field.
Helping people, that's what she liked. She was kind of like jack of all trades. You could have put her anywhere, and she turns out good.
But for Glynis, there was still something missing.
While Glynis had built a solid life for herself and her son, she didn't have anyone special to share it with.
Which is where Ken Lowe came along.
Hey, girl.
Their families lived near each other and saw each other many times over the years.
In Yonkers, it's like everybody's acquainted in some way, like 6 degrees of separation. Everybody knows somebody that knows somebody.
How you doing?
I'm all right. It's been a while.
She began to look at him as perhaps someone that she might be interested in having no relationship with.
It was cool. He was laid back. He was real humble.
Soon, Glynis and Ken had become an item.
He was a big dude, but he was a giant, gentle beast.
Before long, Ken had moved in, and he and Glynis began making plans for the future.
My mom was trying to have another baby. They were talking about it for a little while. They wanted to get married. That was their plan.
But now Glynis is being rushed to the hospital as her life hangs in the balance.
The victim was transported to St. Joseph's Hospital in an extremely critical condition.
At the scene, detectives arrive to begin their investigation.
When we have the vehicle flee the scene, we treat it as a serious act, and detectives are usually called.
Sometimes these kinds of cases turn out to be accidents where the driver flees in panic or fear.
You're thinking maybe a DWI or someone's license was suspended.
You may have a kid who's driving their parents' car. You may have a person who's an immigrant who thinking that they're gonna get deported.
But it doesn't take long for detectives to realize they're dealing with something far more serious.
It appeared to her friend that Glynis and the person in the driver's seat were exchanging words or in some type of dispute.
And then when Glynis started to walk away, she just got ran over.
This was not an accident.
Oh my God.
Could an ongoing feud spanning years bring detectives closer to uncovering the truth behind what happened to Glynis Pinto?
Life is so much more than a diagnosis. It's about sharing time with those you love, hanging with friends who lift you up, and experiencing all those moments that bring you joy. All hits, no skips. Learn more about Kisqali Ribociclib 200 milligrams at KISQALI.com and talk to your doctor to see if Kisqali is right for you. So long live singing to the oldies, jamming out to something new, and everything in between.
In the spring of 2015, 37-year-old Glynis Pinto was flying high with boyfriend Ken Lowe.
She has found the love of her life. They're planning a wedding. They're talking about having a child together. Glynis is a very happy woman.
Things were going well. They were supposed to get married in Vegas.
But now, EMTs have just rushed Glynis to the hospital after a hit and run on a busy downtown street.
It is clear that she's got some serious injuries.
She had fractures and breaks, as well as major organ damage.
While first responders race to save Glynis, detectives begin their investigation.
Several detectives responded to the scene of the hit and run, and several other detectives responded to the hospital to try and ascertain the condition of the victim.
Can you tell us what happened?
At the crime scene, the friend who was with Glynis at the time of the hit and run provides a statement to detectives.
They met in the Bronx earlier that afternoon, and they were going to go out shopping at a local mall in Yonkers.
But according to Glynis's friend, there had been a glitch in the plan.
Glynis got a text, and she wanted to make a detour.
They ended up on Warburton Avenue.
She said she had to stop off to go handle something.
I'm gonna be right back.
When they get to the spot, Glynis gets out of the car.
Her friend wasn't really paying attention. She was just kind of hanging out in the car, playing on her phone while she waited.
So what's up? What's up? I'm here.
All of a sudden, she heard shouting, looked up, and saw Glynis yelling at the driver of another car parked on the other side of the street.
She was talking to the person in the car, and they were having some type of dispute.
Glynis's friend didn't think it was that big of a deal at first.
What is going on?
An encounter like this happens hundreds of times a day in New York City. Somebody blows their horn at you, you flip them off, and then you go about your day.
Which is more or less what Glynis did, according to her friend.
Glynis goes, you know what? I'm done with this. She starts to walk away by walking into the crosswalk in front of the car as if to go into the sidewalk.
But to her friend's horror, Glynis never made it.
As Glynis crossed the street, the driver of the car hits the gas, striking Glynis.
Oh my God!
Ms. Pinto was on the hood of the vehicle, trying to hang on for several seconds.
The car continues driving for about 30 or 40 more yards.
Glynis, unfortunately, falls off the front of the vehicle.
She watches in horror as the car runs over Glynis.
Glynis's friend sees this transpire, dial 911 to get the police there and get her first aid.
But despite their best efforts, there's nothing anyone can do for Glynis.
She was pronounced dead upon arrival at the hospital.
This was a young woman who had a family, struck down in broad daylight. It was just heartbreaking.
Okay. Thank you.
For detectives working the case, it's also a homicide.
No, please, no.
But who was the killer behind the wheel?
At this time, police, they're unsure exactly what transpired there. They don't know if this was some type of road rage incident where they exchanged words and the car hit her and left the scene. Or the person in the car was the person Glynis was going to meet.
But Glynis's friend tells detectives she isn't entirely sure.
She said Glynis got a text, and she assumed that it was from Ken Lowe, who was Glynis's boyfriend.
But it wasn't Ken's car that ran Glynis over.
The friend didn't recognize the vehicle.
Oh my God!
All she knew for sure was that it was some kind of dark-colored sedan.
Oh my God!
However, detectives may have a way to track down the car that killed Glynis.
We have city cameras strategically placed throughout the city of Yonkers, where they'll be attached to electrical poles and telephone poles throughout the area, and we can typically go back to those to try and recover footage to piece together crimes.
While waiting for Public Works to process their request for the footage, detectives head to the hospital, where Glynis's friends and family are starting to gather.
That was important because we were able to interview them, get their statements, and make our attempts to try and identify who was driving that dark-colored sedan.
Glynis's son, Nasir Brown, arrived soon after the detectives.
My cousin baby mother had called my phone and was like, Nunu, your mom just got hit by a car. I'm like, what? At what hospital you going to? She was like, St. Joseph's. So as soon as I got out the car and I got into the first set of doors, it was a detective that I knew. He just told me, your mom didn't make it. And from there, like, everything just goes to a blur.
After giving Nasir some time to collect himself, lead detectives pull him aside for a brief interview.
One of the first things they asked, do you guys know of anybody that wanted to harm Glennis?
They asked questions to see if Glennis had any enemies or any problems that could have led to this.
Do you know anyone that might want to hurt your mom?
I didn't know what to think at all.
Everybody loved her. They always had something good to say about her.
Even though everyone adored Glennis, she didn't always have the best luck with romantic relationships.
Some people have mentioned a current boyfriend, Ken Lowe. Is there any troubles there?
Yeah, there's been a few issues lately.
Glennis's son told police that Ken had been cheating on her.
It happens. Men sometimes make foolish mistakes. That's what he did. He made a foolish mistake.
But now detectives want to know, did Ken's foolish mistake have fatal consequences?
Now detectives were looking at the possibility that the cheating and the hit and run were connected.
What do you mean? What am I talking about? So you're gonna sit here and act like I'm stupid?
Could an ongoing feud spanning years bring detectives closer to uncovering the truth behind what happened to Glennis Pinto?
Detectives investigating the hit and run that killed 37-year-old Glennis Pinto have just learned that her boyfriend, Ken Lowe, has been stepping out on her.
Glennis had found out from a mutual friend that Ken was cheating on her with another woman.
Once Glennis found out that Ken had been cheating, she was furious.
And when was that?
A few months ago.
According to Nasir, Glennis had learned about Ken's cheating the previous fall, and she didn't hesitate to confront him about it.
She even threw him out of the house.
That made Ken mad?
I don't know. I guess so. I mean, he was still cool with me.
Even when him and my mom was on bad terms, like, he wouldn't treat me no different. I'll see him, he'd be like, yo, Luna, you all right? You need some money? You good? You going back to the house? I'd be like, yeah. He'd be like, you want to ride up the hill? I'd be like, yeah. He'll give me a ride up the hill. He'd be like, yo, your mom upstairs? I'd be like, yeah. He'd be like, tell her come downstairs, come talk to me.
So they'd talk?
Yeah, some.
Ken was sort of remorseful, saying he was sorry, and he was begging for her forgiveness, but Glennis just wasn't buying it.
Which leaves police wondering if the hit and run was retaliation for kicking Ken out.
I remember us trying to connect him because Ken may have lured her to the area.
Well, thank you so much. And if you could go with this detective right here.
But that's not the only reason detectives are suspicious of Ken.
Ken was known to law enforcement.
Ken ran with a rough crowd, often dealt with some unsavory characters.
He's been locked up quite a few times, mostly for drug charges.
Although Ken isn't the only person detectives have to consider.
The revelation that Ken has been unfaithful to Glennis introduces a love triangle motive into the situation.
Maybe Ken's woman on the side wanted Glennis out of the picture.
For the moment, the other woman's name remains a mystery.
Glennis's family don't know who he cheated with. Glennis didn't share too much information with them, probably out of embarrassment.
She was private. Not too many people was in her business at all.
They don't know exactly what transpired or how it happened. They just know that Glennis was pretty much through with him.
With no other leads, detectives' first priority is clear: find Ken Lowe.
Whenever somebody's killed, the first person you talk to is a person's spouse or the significant other. And being that Ken had just been discovered he was cheating and there was some turmoil in their relationship, police are definitely interested.
There's just one problem.
We made several attempts to locate Ken and were unsuccessful.
Detectives also attempt to connect Ken to the car that killed Glennis.
Detectives didn't have a registration or license number, but they did have a description of the vehicle.
A dark-colored sedan ran Glennis over.
So as part of their investigation, police get the records from DMV, and after looking at all the DMV records, police determined that Ken was not the owner of a dark-colored sedan.
But when detectives receive footage from the traffic cameras in the area, including one on a utility pole near the accident site, they do get their first glimpse at the mysterious black sedan.
Investigators were able to actually get CCTV video footage of the incident.
The video was shocking. Detectives could actually watch in real time as the car hit Glynis, right as she walked in front of it.
The video leaves little doubt that the driver intentionally ran over Glynis.
Just as her friend described, the driver kept going even after striking Glynis.
The car does not hesitate. The car does not slow down. The car proceeds at a deliberate speed.
She was on the hood of the car. It was impossible not to see her. She was yelling.
The car drives out of frame, so we do not see Glynis Pinto falling under the wheels of the car. But the implication is there in the video, clear as day. You're watching a woman die in real time.
When detectives roll the footage back to before the fatal hit and run, what it shows is even more revealing.
That car that hit Glynis had been idling at that street corner for an hour.
This person was waiting to ambush Glynis.
She may have been almost lured to the area.
Police are thinking that, yes, indeed, the person that texted Glynis was the person behind the wheel of that dark-colored sedan.
But even with video of the crime, detectives are no closer to finding the killer.
Unfortunately, with the videos, we weren't able to get a license plate number, and we weren't able to identify the driver.
Between the distance and the angle, the images just weren't clear.
You couldn't see who was driving.
Still hoping to identify the car's owner, detectives released the surveillance video to the news media.
We released the video pretty quickly because we were looking to get someone who can identify the driver of the vehicle, or actually the vehicle first and then the driver.
Detectives also head back to the crime scene.
The police decide to go back to recanvass, see if they can come up with some new leads there. And they talk to the owner of a bodega on the corner where Glynis was hit.
When they asked him if he saw anything, he gave them their first real lead.
The owner of the bodega said he himself got a good look at the driver of the sedan.
He claimed when the car ran over Glynis that there was a woman behind the wheel.
Could an ongoing feud spanning years bring detectives closer to uncovering the truth behind what happened to Glynis Pinto?
Life is so much more than a diagnosis. It's about sharing time with those you love, hanging with friends who lift you up, and experiencing all those moments that bring you joy. All hits, no skips. Learn more about Kisqali Ribociclib 200 milligrams at KISQALI.com and talk to your doctor to see if Kisqali is right for you. So long live singing to the oldies, jamming out to something new, and everything in between.
Canvassing the area around the hit and run that killed 37-year-old Glynis Pinto has just given detectives their first lead on the driver's identity.
The owner of a bodega that's on the corner tells them that, look, this car was in front of my store for over an hour. I got a very good look at the driver. It was a woman.
The immediate thought is this driver could be Ken's mistress.
But who is she? All detectives know for sure is that Glynis's boyfriend, Ken Lowe, wasn't driving the car that killed her.
Ruling Ken out as the driver didn't make him any more willing to talk to the police.
We reached out several different people who knew him as well to try and get him to come forward, but we never heard from him in regards to this investigation.
However, they do get a tip on the possible identity of the woman Ken was seeing on the side.
It originally came from a source who wanted to remain anonymous and confidential, but wanted to do the right thing and point us in the right direction.
The tipster suggested that detectives check out Glynis's social media accounts.
Once we looked at it, there was a lot of threats, a lot of chatter back and forth.
The threats started out as vague and subtle.
basically saying that if you're going to carry on the way you're going to carry on, there will be consequences.
As they get closer and closer to the actual day in which Glennis was run over, there is a post that says, "Jump out there and you'll be dealt with accordingly."
That sticks out to investigators because it kind of describes the incident itself.
The person who made the threatening comments is 36-year-old Carla Scott.
As police began their investigation on Carla, they learned that she has a criminal history herself.
This girl was a stone troublemaker.
She was documented as having run-ins with the law from a time that she was very young. Her first brush with the law was 1999.
Carla's most recent arrest was in 2008 when she was arrested with $1,500 worth of crack cocaine.
Would Carla soon add murder charges to her rap sheet? To detectives, it appears possible that she'd followed up on her threats with deadly results.
Carla Scott showed a pattern of criminal behavior.
She had a lot of run-ins with the police.
Now the question for detectives was, how did Carla know Glennis?
We started asking Glennis's friends and family if they're familiar with the name Carla Scott.
Glennis's family tells detectives they know Carla well.
My mom and Carla, they was good friends. Friends that was like family, but they weren't really biological family, going all the way back from when I was a baby.
Their children were the same age. They were always at each other's houses.
My kindergarten graduation, she was there.
But all it took was an unpaid debt to turn the old friends into bitter enemies.
They had a falling out over something petty, like over a couple dollars. Carla act like she didn't want to pay the money back or whatever the case may be. And you know how that goes.
They just kept getting into beefs back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
Like they had a little vendetta against each other.
Which leaves detectives wondering, had Carla's little vendetta taken a deadly turn?
Maybe Glennis's death didn't have anything to do with Ken's infidelity after all.
Detectives take the mugshot from Carla's police file and go back to the bodega to show the owner in hopes of making a positive ID.
We put that picture in a photo array or a 6-pack photo spread.
A photo array is when you have 6 pictures and one is your suspect and the other 5 are just random people who have nothing to do with the incident.
The bodega owner identifies Carla as the woman behind the wheel of the sedan outside his store, and ultimately as Glennis's killer.
Once we identified her as a suspect, we identified her last known address, which was in Mount Vernon. We went to that address and we spoke to her brother. He said that she lives there, yes, but she's not home and he had no way to get in touch with her. So we conducted surveillance on the house.
While they're watching, word gets out that the police are looking for Carla.
They get a telephone call from one of Carla's friends.
The friend, a woman named Janelle Brown, gave the police a very revealing bit of news.
It appears that Kenneth was seeing Carla Scott.
But an affair wasn't all that Ken and Carla were having.
She was pregnant with his baby.
Could an ongoing feud spanning years bring detectives closer to uncovering the truth behind what happened to Glennis Pinto?
Life is so much more than a diagnosis. It's about sharing time with those you love, hanging with friends who lift you up, and experiencing all those moments that bring you joy. All hits, no skips. Learn more about Kisqali Ribociclib 200 milligrams at KISQALI.com and talk to your doctor to see if Kisqali is right for you. So long live singing to the oldies, jamming out to something new, and everything in between.
This is Detective Monaco.
Detectives investigating the hit and run that killed 37-year-old Glennis Pinto have just learned that prime suspect Carla Scott had been sleeping with Glennis's boyfriend, Ken Lowe.
Ken wasn't just unfaithful to Glennis. He didn't just have another girlfriend, he actually got this woman pregnant.
Not just any woman either. Carla and Glennis had been frenemies for years.
They were friends at one time, and whatever it was went sour between them.
Glennis had been in an ongoing feud or dispute with her.
It all started when Carla borrowed some money from Glennis and refused to pay it back.
It was like arguing back and forth, you know, bitch, you're not getting your money back, stuff like that, like being petty. And then after a while, my mom wound up getting the money back from Carla's brother. So Carla was mad that my mom wound up actually really did getting the money back.
But according to what her friend, Janelle Brown, tells detectives, Carla had found a way to get back at Glennis.
Carla was the one that made advances on Ken.
Like trying to like move in on him.
Ken obliged. He accepted her advances and he wound up sleeping with her.
And it wasn't a one-time thing.
Carla and Ken began an affair that leads to her becoming pregnant.
Carla's friend told detectives that getting pregnant hadn't been part of the plan.
At first, when Carla becomes pregnant, she doesn't know if she wants to have this baby. But then she starts thinking, maybe now that I'm carrying Ken's baby, he'll leave Glennis.
Carla wanted everything Glennis had. She wanted Ken.
However, Janelle says Carla hadn't considered what Ken wanted.
Once Ken found out that Carla was pregnant, he gave her the cold-hearted truth, which was that he didn't want to be with her.
Ken tells Carla that what happened between you and me was a mistake. Carla's friend tells police that Carla is just furious that Ken has chosen Glennis over her.
She's angry because she didn't have what Glennis had.
Carla Scott was angry. Carla Scott did not want to be challenged by another woman. She staked out her territory, and she decided that she was going to end that relationship.
According to Janelle, it was Carla who made sure word got back to Glennis about the affair.
When Glennis found this out, she was very upset.
She got so upset that she threw Ken out the house.
But as Janelle explained, even that didn't work out for Carla.
She's just furious when she learns that Ken is trying to reconcile with Glennis. She thought that Ken was going to be with her. I mean, after all, he's just gotten her pregnant.
Janelle says the situation pushed Carla and Glennis's long simmering feud past the boiling point.
These two females were going back and forth on social media, text messages and phone calls, and borderline harassing each other over this man.
Carla's friend tells police that there was this huge fight between Glennis and Carla, and that for weeks and months they continued to argue about Ken.
I mean, I thought she was just venting.
The friend tells police that Carla has a history of being a hothead.
Carla Scott had had previous spats with other women over a man. So this was a pattern on behalf of Carla Scott.
She was this jealous woman type.
I never thought Carla would go that far.
Did she tell you what she did?
She didn't have to.
That's when Janelle dropped a bombshell.
I saw the whole thing.
She was actually in the car with Carla when Carla ran over Glennis.
Detectives are shocked by this information. After all, they hadn't been able to see a passenger in the surveillance video, and the bodega owner hadn't mentioned one either. However, Janelle says that when Carla told her she was going to meet Glennis on the afternoon of April 18th, she'd agreed to tag along.
We'd have been friends a long time. And with Carla being pregnant and all, I didn't want to say anything.
She wanted to be there for Carla. She wanted to be Carla's friend.
She didn't think that Carla was going to do anything crazy.
She's thinking that Carla is asking Glennis to come over and talk, and maybe there's going to be a fight.
Although when detectives ask how Carla arranged to meet up with Glennis, Janelle says she doesn't know.
Detectives suspected that the message may have come from Ken, although they were unsure that he knew what was going to happen.
They haven't gotten Glennis's phone records yet, and at this point, they still haven't been able to contact Ken either.
We didn't have the evidence to back that up at the time, and we're never able to connect those dots.
However Carla arranged it, Janelle says that Glennis showed up at the street corner where she and Carla had been waiting.
She had no idea what she was walking into.
I'm gonna be right back.
The text came from Carla's phone or whatever the case may be, and my mom was like, yo, I want to fight. Come on, let's fight.
Carla was the type of person that a lot of people let get away with a lot of stuff, and they was actually somehow scared of her. The only one, to me, that wasn't scared of her was my daughter, because she would fight her. She would definitely fight her.
You know what? I'm tired of you texting my phone.
Okay, but guess what? He's mine now. He's mine now.
I'm here. Why don't you get out the car?
She is sitting in the passenger seat as Glennis and Carla are arguing and cussing each other out.
I'm here right now. Why don't you get out the car? Come on.
The argument only lasts a minute or two.
Glennis realizes that Carla isn't going to get out of the car,
You don't want me to get out.
so the conversation ends.
But just as Glennis turns to leave, Janelle realizes that Carla isn't going to let her rival just walk away.
She put her car in drive.
Carla, what are you doing?
The friend watches in horror as Carla hits the gas.
Oh my God.
The car hit Glennis and she was thrown onto the hood.
She's actually holding onto the hood, looking through the windshield into the eyes of her killer.
Could an ongoing feud spanning years bring detectives closer to uncovering the truth behind what happened to Glennis Pinto?
A friend of Carla Scott has just contacted detectives with a chilling first-hand account of the hit and run that killed 37-year-old Glennis Pinto.
She drops a bombshell that she was in the car when Carla ran Glennis over.
She was completely horrified. She wasn't expecting Carla to do that.
But if that was the case, why hadn't she come forward sooner?
She thought that she would be considered an accessory to this incident, so she was reluctant. But guilt had got to her, and she felt that she needed to do the right thing and tell the truth.
Thank you very much. We'll be in touch.
Janelle's statement gives detectives more than enough evidence to arrest Carla, but they still have to find her.
We were fairly confident that she didn't really leave the area, that she was here. We were in touch with authorities at the airports and rail terminals and bus lines as well.
Detectives also have Carla's home under constant surveillance.
They were actually staking out Carla's house for several days.
It's not until the fourth day of watching the house that Carla finally makes a move.
Detectives saw a woman coming out of the house wearing a hat, like she was trying to get by unnoticed, but it was clear it was Carla.
Detectives waste no time apprehending her. Once in custody, detectives bring Carla back to police headquarters in hopes of getting a statement.
We want her to go on record as to what happened and get her version of events.
But Carla refuses to talk.
Shortly after Miranda warnings are given to Carla Scott, she invokes her right to counsel.
Who do you want to talk to?
My lawyer.
So she doesn't give us anything.
They charge her with first-degree manslaughter and leaving the scene of an accident.
After discussions with the Westchester County District Attorney's Office, that was the charge that was decided on at the time.
The failure to charge Carla with murder leaves the community outraged.
It was deliberate, intentional, and with no remorse. It was an intentional homicide, an intentional vehicular homicide.
When Carla goes to trial on July 12, 2016, prosecutors say there's no doubt she was the one who'd run Glennis down.
We had witnesses who knew Carla. We had some witnesses who didn't know Carla, but were able to identify her later once shown her photo.
Prosecutors also say there is no doubt Carla meant to do it.
This was a love triangle And Carla was trying to eliminate Glynis Pinto from the equation.
She waited for Glynis Pinto to come out to the corner.
Carla hits the gas, striking Glynis.
Then Carla Scott, after Glynis Pinto was run over, drove home. That was it.
However, prosecutors can't say for certain that Carla intended to kill Glynis, which is why she is only charged with manslaughter. When it's the defense's turn, they do their best to build upon that uncertainty.
When it came time for the defense to present their case, they stuck with that she did not intend to kill Glynis that day, that she simply wanted to bump her.
That she didn't mean to run her over. None of what happened was intentional.
But that after Glynis fell off the car, she panicked and drove off.
But will the defense's claims be enough to sway the jury?
They found her guilty of first-degree manslaughter.
Despite her conviction, Carla is defiant at her sentencing.
Judge, now I'd like to read what Ms. Scott is not able to say out loud. I'm not going to say that I don't have any remorse, because I do. Regardless of her actions against me, I never wanted anything to happen to either one of us. I still have compassion to say I'm sorry, even if it's not my fault.
When it's Glynis's mother's turn to speak, she holds little back.
Here we are, face to face, to finalize this whole idiot decision that you made. Maliciously and deliberately, you have destroyed our family. She showed no remorse, no guilt, no worries, no nothing. Me and my grandson, Nasir, will carry this for the rest of our lives. Go straight to hell.
There were no mea culpas. There were no full apologies. She alluded to the fact that people did not know all of the facts of the case.
In her words, it wasn't my fault.
The judge sees things differently, handing down the maximum penalty allowed by law.
For the crime of manslaughter in the first degree, sent to the court is a determined sentence of 25 years.
She will be away for a long time.
That's cold comfort for Glynis's son, Nasir.
I don't care how much time she got in jail. It's not gonna bring my mom's back.
Nasir has also lost the man he considered his surrogate father.
Ken Lowe was murdered only 4 months after Glynis's death.
He was shot in a car not very far from where Glynis was killed.
Detectives didn't believe there was any connection between his death and Glynis's murder.
Despite the fact that Ken's infidelity led to his mother's death, Glynis's son believes that the blame rests solely with Carla.
He wasn't the bad guy. Everybody makes messed up decisions, and that's what happened. My mom wound up catching the short end of the stick of the whole situation.
But Glynis's legacy lives on through her son, who now has a family of his own.
I got 2 kids that will never meet their grandmother. I didn't get to experience my mom being a grandma, so it does take a lot. It hurts, but at the same time, I just be like, you know what? She's looking down. She sees them. So I always try to push myself forward. I try to push myself more and more each day for her.
The tragic loss of beloved Glynis Pinto, a mother and daughter, due to jealousy, rivalry, deceit, and brutal murder, is an incredibly harrowing experience for any family to grasp. Glynis Pinto will be forever remembered and honored by her family and friends. Coming up on the next episode of the Fatal Attraction Podcast.
She was a hardworking mother on the verge of achieving her dreams.
She continued her education and she received her LPN license.
She rose to the occasion.
She was succeeding in life.
She'd been successful in love, too.
They were going to get married.
He's there for the family. He's a part of her life.
But before she can celebrate her success, a killer crashes the party.
A successful mother of two in Toledo, Ohio. She had a family that loved her, a successful life, and was successful in motherhood. Yet, in an instant, her life changed forever. What could have caused such a sudden shift in her life? What happened to Corey Key? Tune in to the next episode of the Fatal Attraction Podcast. We will see you in the next episode.